Good evening. I call this meeting to order at 4:31 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call. All directors are present. Moving on to public comment. There are no members of the public in person and no members online. So we will move on to special meeting action item. Discussion and possible action to approve Civic Center project change order 001, electrical switchgear and generator procurement. Mr. Burns.
Good evening. George is going to take this item.
Mr. Bartz. Can you hear me? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, pull up the item. So this was reported to the board when we awarded this project to spec, that there were 3 items that were not included in the bid packet. The FF&E, which is the furnishing, finishing, and equipment, services for the sweepy oversight, and the electrical equipment, which is the switchgear panels and the generator. What we're bringing to the board is a change order for procuring the electrical switchgear and generator as a change order through the contractor. When we first started this process during the bidding, just prior to the bidding process, the procurement for this equipment was extensive. It was about 18 months. So we made a decision to take the proactive approach, which to procure that equipment internally so that we didn't have to wait for the project to be awarded. So since that time until it was awarded, that was shortened up to 12 months. So we couldn't move forward with that without awarding the project to a contractor. So then we were figuring out how to put this out. Well, initially we had proposed to put together a scope of work and bid it out. We were working with legal, with Wes Miliband, on how we could do this. Soon after, the general manager and we met with CPM, and we have Chase Cooper and Mike Woods with CPM that can really dive into the details of this. But it was then recommended or suggested that we address this as a change order. And there's a lot of advantages in having the contractor procure the equipment. And one is specifically is the liability. Accepting the equipment, testing equipment, it's all on the contractor time schedule. If we had procured it, it was our responsibility, so there could have been issues with the equipment. So we thought that was a great option. So we had the CPM team kind of go out and get costs for the equipment. That was then presented to us. They spoke with SPAC and they provided a change order, and we then brought this to legal, and the conversation then begun with we got to cross our I's and dot our T's, and then also get this cleared with I said it again. Dot the I's and cross the T's. And we've said that we would reassure that this complies with FEMA reimbursement on the equipment. And this is all FEMA funded. So Jen reached out with FEMA to get an okay. And we were working with legal. We had a meeting with legal. So everything looked fine and dandy on both ends. We got the approval as stated in the background in this memo that we're now bringing this to the board for approval. And I have CPM here to kind of dive into the details of it, as they were the ones that kind of handled the procurement and working with spec, the contractor. So if you have any questions, we're here to answer.
Okay.
Part of the original RFP process was the generator part of that, and then it got taken out of the original RFP process.
It was not included in the RFP.
So they
But
didn't.
it was communicated that they had the responsibility, the contractor had the responsibility to install and.
Okay,
and-
so it wasn't part of the RFP process that they bid on, that they had to procure the generator and then at all?
Just the installation.
Okay, makes sense, I understand.
Yeah.
They've been doing public works contracting, so.
So that scope of work was included for the install. So they would accept it from the district at the time.
Sure.
And take on the responsibility. Arc Flash was also part of that scope of work. That was part of what's presented to you currently is to include the Arc Flash testing.
Yeah, that's a requirement.
Yeah.
OSHA requirement.
Yeah.
Probably have Noellen do it.
Oh, there's Chase.
To kind of elaborate on what that question was asked, we took it out at bid time. We had this idea early on to save time. So the whole point was, let's run this concurrently with the bid process. That way we can award two informal bid solicitation, and then we could get the submittal process going and expedite the switchgear. As budget was coming through, needing board approval to move forward on the project, it was then thought, when we saw that timelines were condensing, that we would wait to make sure that the project was going to move forward. That way the district wasn't hung out in any kind of way with this other contract. So as that progressed through, the idea came about, let's do this as a change order, keep it all under one umbrella, keep the liability there, and eliminate the finger pointing.
Yeah.
So we put provisions into the change order that the switchgear has a drop dead date, so that any costs associated with meeting that, I think it was December 26th is the language in the change order of 2026, that's provided in that cost. So our switchgear should be here on time.
Yeah, perfect. That makes sense. And I guess my next question or comment would be geared more towards staff than it would be the contractor with that. So that kind of clarifies things for me as for terms of when it was on the original RFP contract or not. Because then what it does is it plays into the bidding process. And if we really allowed competitive bidding where we do a change order on something that was removed from a competitive bid process, this isn't to degrade the low bid that you guys provided and were awarded the contract, because then it ties into the FEMA grant stuff.
And that is
So, the issues would be, there's a $11.9 million contract was price-based, different from the scope of work now we're being asked to approve with the generator. So that clarifies it on the RFP process, because I didn't dig into the original scope on the RFP. And then I just want to make sure that we're not going to risk any of the funding through FEMA or CalEOS money that was part of the grant. And then I don't want to assume any risk that we have, because the board's being asked to make a $523,000 decision that on its face doesn't look like it's competitively bid by a change order on something that changed after the fact. That's where I'm at with that. So I don't have any further questions.
Yeah, we did have a couple of bids for this
Okay.
procurement, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then that was handled through CPM.
Part of the reason for the special meeting today is, before we could bring this to the board, we had to confirm with Cal OES that they are okay with the bidding process that we used to get this, to allow to do it as a change order.
Okay.
And they did confirm that, but that was confirmed after the agenda was out. It was not an emergency item, but that's why we asked for a special meeting to address this item tonight.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think you addressed what my questions were about, making sure that we're good on the legal end with the FEMA and everything, because they'll take that check and go. So, all right, thank you.
Yeah, just not on the equipment, but in pretty much the whole project, yeah.
So I agree with the contractor purchasing it and installing it, so nobody's pointing fingers at each other. But back when we awarded the bid, I asked if all FF&E was included and everything else was included when we awarded the contract. The answer was yes, it is. And here we are today adding 500,000 to the contract, plus you're saying there's still other FF&E items that have to be added in?
That's the furnishing equipment. So in
Right.
the memo, it excluded those 3 items as ones that we were going to manage ourselves.
So we were told they were all included if you go back to the October meeting. So can we get a list of what's outstanding out there? Have the contractor or the consultant put together a list of what's outstanding so we know what we're looking at in the future? We could be
Yeah.
looking at another 500 grand easily for FF&E.
Yeah, in the agenda item, I don't have the one that I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it was noted in there that that was excluded from the bid, that we would be having to deal with that. But I don't have what you were looking at in front of me to be able to answer to that, but we can certainly get you that information.
I just went back to the actual meeting. It was like 30 minutes into the meeting or something where the question was asked.
Okay.
So if we can get a list of what's still outstanding so we know what we're looking at, that'd be great. Thank you.
So, just to clarify, I know that you're concerned about adding an additional amount onto, the contract, but really the 523,000 we're taking from the 10% contingency, correct? So we're still gonna have 672,000 left over for what ifs, mishaps, price increases, things like that, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So the 1.19 was already figured into the total balance costs already, correct? As being part of the total cost, or is this in addition to the total cost?
That
the
was
building.
that was the approved amount. It was
Okay.
at 10%.
So it's already
Yeah.
it figured into the number, okay. So that was my main question, is it was already in the total balance number at the bottom, and just to be used only if needed? That's all the only piece I need to
Yeah.
know. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion, questions for George or the team? No? Good,
I have nothing more to add, thank you.
okay. All right, so with that, would someone like to motion to approve this?
I'll make a motion to approve the item.
I will second that.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. The motion passes.
Thank you.
And with that, we will adjourn at 4:45 PM.